back to back, we had we lost a few clients, and this were what you call good clients. So you ask yourself, what's happening? How come these clients are just writing in and saying no services? No, is it because we're not delivering up to speed? Is it because we're not meeting their expectations? Is it because they had financial issues? What exactly was the problem? And this particular issue got me going to seek mentors and asking them, please, sir, how exactly do you go about retaining your clients? When you have gone through the long journey and the hard work of finding good clients, it's now becomes so important for you to find how to keep those clients. And then there was a wisdom that one of my mentors shared, and that was life-saving. And that seemed to have been what I would call the antidote, what some people would have called the herbalist powder that saved the day. But today, I'll be giving you an opportunity to also partake in such kind of herbalist powder, some kind of juju, if you understand what juju means, some mystical powers that will help you understand that there is an art to finding good clients as much as there is also an art. It's an art, ART, of also retaining these clients. It's not just some kind of a mirage. People have done it, and they have done it effectively. Some people have kept clients consistently for years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they have been able to continuously service the same clients and keep on returning, getting the business come back over and over. Today in the house is a man I respect so much. I've admired him so much for many years before I had the privilege of meeting him a few years, less than a decade ago. And he has been an amazing person. He has been amazing. I think there's something about greatness I've come to understand, is that greatness comes very simple. Greatness is really simple. Greatness is so simple. Greatness comes with some level of humility, and that's who we have. We have in the house already Mr. Foluso Phillips. Mr. Foluso Phillips is a qualified industrial economist. He's a qualified industrial economist. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants of the United Kingdom. He is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. And he brings with him well over 40 years of global experience in financial and business operations management, enterprise development, and macroeconomic policy formulation. Mr. Phillips is recognized within the industry for the delivery of exceptional professional service in people, technology, and organizational transformation. He has played a significant role for over 30 years in promoting the country and the business-to-business engagement, encouraging and assisting companies in designing market strategies to Nigeria, particularly market entry strategies, and in facilitating trade. He is the executive chairman and founder of Phillips Consulting Limited. And for all of us that do know and do not know, Phillips Consulting is a business and management consulting firm. It is the most significant indigenous management consulting firm in Nigeria, and it has been in operations for 27 years counting. And this is amazing. How has it done this? He's going to share a lot of all those. Mr. Phillips is a very sought after. It's very sought after in the corporate sector, in the corporate scene. He sits on the boards of diverse commercial and non-governmental organizations, charities. He's either a director or a trustee or a shareholder. He is a former chairman and current board member of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group. And that's Nigeria's leading private sector think tank and advocacy institution. He is chairman, Nigeria South Africa Chamber of Commerce. He is chairman, Primera Africa Group, and that's a finance and financial advisory group. He is chairman of the advisory board also of the United Capital Infrastructure Fund. He chairs the boards of 2 educational institutions. He serves as director at the Special Olympics of Nigeria, at VG Holdings, and then so many more. And you know what amazes me the most? I see that Mr. Foluso is an avid art collector, and has an exceptional interest and keen commitment to the African Renaissance. And I'm happy that I am not just a collector, but I try to also join in those people that actually does the painting. So I collect, and then as you can see, this is my painting. Gentlemen in the house, I want to make welcome in a very special way our guest for today. Our speaker for today is Mr. Foluso Phillips. I call him FOP. FOP, sir.
Hi, Charles. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. And thank you so very much for making it, for giving us this time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you so much. So I've said a bit about you. I won't say I've said much because I know there is so much more to you than I could have read in the few minutes that I did. But more importantly is I want to just hit the ground running. I don't want to waste any bit of your time, and I want to be able to ensure that we're able to milk as much wisdom as we can. So permit me to just allow you 1-2 minutes to just say 1 or 2 things about clients, the whole idea of clients. Who is a client, and what is the relevance of clients to business? Very academic question in 2 minutes, and I'll hit the ground running with my questions.
Okay. All right. Once again, let me thank you for asking me to join all of you here. I think it's a great pleasure on my part. Charles, you did hustle me a bit, but then again, you need to hustle your clients, So I'm sure you know how to hustle your clients, but it's a pleasure, and it was always a case of trying to find time and making sure that one was always relevant. And it's an interesting topic because the very essence of any organization is, it's the clients. Without customers, you can't exist. And whether you call them clients or customers, they're the ones that give you a reason for your existence, and they justify your existence. And clearly, one of the most powerful things that I can say about customers is that customers are never inanimate objects. They're never a corporation or a company. No matter who you are, no matter which organization you're dealing with, there's always one person in there, or 2 or 3, that personify that organization, and they're the ones that you're relating to. So each time you think about a company, you've got to think about a particular individual who connects you to that company, who acts on behalf of the company, who is either going to take a decision or help you to push your product or service. We're talking lawyers now, so let's be specific. Who's going to help you to ensure that you are heard, and your story is told, and your services are explained. So just bear in mind that your customer is somebody. It is an individual, and that reacts, that wants to be satisfied, that wants to feel very secure. And I can tell you stories about how your aim is to make that person successful in the job that they do, no matter what it is. So if you are going to be engaged legally to do something, to carry out some legal service, and this person is the person that is approaching you, then bear in mind, especially if it's, they say, the legal secretary or company secretary or legal representative of that company, bear in mind that it's his job, that you are actually going to try and help him to be successful in the process of making his organization successful in whatever transaction you want to get into. So the first thing is that we're dealing with people. And the minute you start dealing with people, all the rules come to play about how it is. Empathizing, understanding who they are, understanding the role that you can play, feeling for them, and all those other things that you do when you go for a sales training, all those sales topics and issues about benefits and features and all those, they come to play the minute you go into a mindset that I am dealing with an individual and not some inanimate object or an organization that that person might represent. So that for me is the foundation of everything we're going to discuss.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. A client is a human being. So whether you're looking for them virtually, you're dealing with them remotely or physically, they're human beings. They hear, they see, they feel, and all of those things. Okay. Naturally, it's common knowledge that doing business in Nigeria can be a very Herculean task. In fact, I remember the joke where someone said that entrepreneurs in Nigeria, I think it was Dangote that was said to have said that doing business in Nigeria is hellfire on its own, and it's impossible for business owners to go to hellfire. And I think this is particularly more so in service-based businesses. How have you been able to manage all of this in these years? This economy does not seem to appreciate service, knowledge, and all of those things. And that's what you do, basically. You sell, you package, you transform knowledge and wisdom. How have you been able to cope?
Well, I think, in my own case, we've got to go back to the actual institution itself. Yes, Phillips Consulting, you were saying in the introduction about us being 27. We actually celebrated our 28th anniversary yesterday. It was the 2nd of October, wow, 1992. Yes, and it was, as usual, it was a very virtual one. But the fact is, for me, it has been a case of not too much saying I want to be the #1 consulting firm, I want to get all these clients. It was a case of saying, can I build a very solid and sustainable institution? And I truly, honestly, hand on my heart, started off that way, saying that, look, starting 28 years ago, a consulting firm in which consulting at that time was very, very new. For those of you who know, you are just Anderson Consulting in those days, Pricewaterhouse, and then Cougars and Lybrand, and quite a few of these organizations. And so one was not just a new kid on the block, but a very, very small one. But my mental model was that, look, I need to create an organization that would really, really outlive me. And that was it. And, the minute one got into that mindset, it wasn't a case of hustling for work. It was a case of how can I get this organization to just survive? And therefore, there was total and initial alignment to that theory. So I spent more time, more effort in building this institution, recruiting the right people, offering a lot of training, making a lot of sacrifices, saying that if I can get the people to do right, if I can get some phenomenal consultants with the right attitude, the right behavior, the right skills, then everything else will work out right. And if your institution that you're building can outlive you for so many, many years, then it means there's going to be something you're doing right. So focus on building that institution. And in the process, you're doing the right thing. So it's all those things that was at the back of my mind and has sustained us over all these years, whereby we now go on the outside and start dealing with all these clients that we're talking about. You're finding that your attitude to them is very different. You're not in there for the short term. I found that for many assignments, even till now, it's always a marketing assignment. And for me, what's a marketing assignment in which you're not really charging what you see, look, I'm marketing this guy, so I will charge a rate that is not going to kill him. It's just to endure him and endure me to this client, and hope that maybe the second time around, I can begin to charge properly. But obviously, you start off by charging a very favorable rate. And then when you're going to go the second time around, they say, why has your rates gone up? But the fact is, it's just giving that kind of confidence, building trust, making them appreciate the fact that you are there. Remember, I started off by saying that, remember, the client is a person. And I worked a lot on relationships. And it's these relationships that help you to stand the test of time. Sometimes you try and get into an organization and there's an existing competitor there, and you can't uproot that competitor. And even at times you find out that you might be a better organization. Maybe you have more interesting ideas, more interesting concepts, newer, fresher, but the existing organization is so entrenched, your competitor is so entrenched that it's difficult to uproot. And that's what you need to do as well in terms of building some very strong relationships. Obviously, you've got to be able to provide a service that is reasonable and that is sensible. And you find invariably that it is the same client that you're working with that will be giving you the cronje, be giving you the
What do you call that?
you call it cronje. Cronje is, haven't you heard that before? Cronje means giving you the backstory, that look, you're the person you're trying to, uproot, this is what they're doing. Or somebody's trying to come in and, higher management might be thinking a particular way, but because you've developed your own strong relationship, they continue to defend you and continue to hold you tight. So that's very important. The kind of personal relationship that you are able to develop. And also try and, it's not just about you alone. Always remember, you've got a team that you represent, and you don't want to be a lone voice. You want to be a team of people that go in and if you play your cards right, you actually filter at different levels, and you have a spread. So you're going in, you're the lead counsel, so to speak, but you've got about 2 or 3 other of your lawyers that are also developing relationships. And this is always so important. And of course, don't forget that the client has got to see a lot more in the organization with the people, your other lawyers, than just yourself alone, so that you're not just a lone voice, you're not just the one man that can do stuff. They realize that you really have a nice team, a strong institution, you're capable of delivering, and your employees are literally empowered with the knowledge, the capability, the competence, the ability to do all those things that customers or clients, as you put them, are looking for. So when we begin to look, and things like integrity, we talk about integrity, but trust me, they're very, very important. And I know you begin to get very, very dodgy and a thin line when you're doing legal work to try and see how far do we go with issues about integrity. And even within your organization, bear in mind that, again, it's the people that can do well that you're pushing. Remember, I started by saying you've got to think about building an institution. Now, if you're starting off and saying that, look, my own vision for my organization is we want to make money, we want to be the leading law firm, we want to do all those things. Don't forget, whatever is your vision is what you're aligned to. If you want to make money, then everybody's got to work for you to make money. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be around, after you're gone. If you say, I want to be the leading law firm, then you've got to be able to define what it means. Therefore, you're very visible, you're very known, and you're the very first one that comes to everybody's mind. Then there's a lot of work that you need to do in order to go to achieve that. And you've got to be able to sustain it and know that you're not sort of doing these things on your own, okay? So that's what I'll just say generally. It's about, for your clients, and in these rough times where there's a lot of competition, a lot of tornadoes and whirlwinds around, how can you ensure that you're rooted with your client? It's about the strong relationship that you have with the client, which is always personified by an individual or 2 or 3, whereby you also maintain your relationships and you're very personable, at that stage.
Thank you very much, FOP. Whilst we're talking, I had to jump away from my list, and some 4 questions just came up right whilst we're talking. And the first one is going to be with cronje, the cronje that you just talked about. And it's a simple one. I've had experiences, not once, several times, when you are working with some clients. There are usually some supervising officers. So, for example, you're working for a legal team, for example, and your supervisors will probably be the heads of legal or the company secretaries or legal officers in that department. And you find out that they have expectations for back scratching. So they expect that, you've gotten this amount of brief, and they're giving you all the signs, they're making some things difficult for you just because they want you to come back. Of course, there's this company policy that says do not give gifts, do not do all of those things. But into reality, and I want you to be very, very, very real and straight about this. In reality, these things are there. These heads of departments, some of these heads of legal, some of these legal officers have expectations. They expect you to come back at the back end, meet them at home, give them another call after work, sit out over beers and exchange some kind of carrier bags. And it's when you do that, they give you the cronje. It's when you do that, they tell you management's direction, and they tell you that, oh, the management is thinking in this way. Oh, there's this breeze that is likely to come. That's when they give you those information, not because you are the best, because there are so many best, as it were, so many people that can actually do the kind of things you are doing. But how do you how do that? Have you experienced that before, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a very, very tough question, and it reminds me of the conversation I had because we had a virtual meeting with the whole firm yesterday, and I talked extensively about issue about integrity. It has been a very, very tough and long haul, and if truth be told, we've had our own challenges, and there's an advert that we always pull out titled integrity. And in one of the phrases, we say that if we're doing business with you, then it means that you too have integrity. And people have said, on a realistic basis that, look, in Nigeria, all this story that you're talking about, this is all this integrity stuff, that's an Igbo stuff. Here, this is how we operate. Now, this is how I've tried to deal with it on a very, very realistic basis. First of all, when I say I have never, hardly do I, very, very reluctantly, and even the life of the firm, have I been in a situation whereby it's a case of quid pro quo. That is, if I give you this job, then, this is what comes to me. And I realized that because there's certain expectations, I move into this very, very thin borderline that says, I will not make a payment to you, a condition based on getting a job. But the much that I would move is that I would try as much as possible to show appreciation, okay, to a situation whereby I know that you give me a job. There's a very, very thin line of difference. Mr. Phillips, if you want this job, it's yours, but you got to give me 10%. That's one raw thing. And that's what I say, sorry. It's a case of, Mr. Phillips, if you want this job, just think about us, and in fact, you might find that yourself saying that, look, if we do get this thing, we will try and appreciate the fact that maybe there's a role that you've played, and we want to sort of not take you for granted, and you begin to sort of try and find a way to say your thank yous, as you say, and ours has never really been, whenever it happens, it's never really been it's never been dictated, so to speak, by the client, and that's what I always find. So if I decide at the end of the year, your birthday or whatever it is, that I want to recognize the role that you played, and I have to give you a gift of one shape, manner, or form, then it's got to be out of my own volition. It's not going to be a contractual, conditional thing that you set up for me. Now, it's very difficult because you're saying that, oh, by the time you've done that, you've lost the job. But again, it just depends on your own policy and how much you can survive. A lot of people unfairly have been pushed to the extent that you just say, look, okay, let's trade. Now, one thing my late father told me, a very, very wise man, probably my greatest mentor, died when he was about 94, 95 years old. He said to me, and literally when I was starting Phillips, he said, you got to stick to the straight and narrow. He said, because you see, you find that it comes back to bite you in so many ways that you can never imagine. And when issues about integrity are placed on the table, and the same person who you had to sort of deal with 10 years ago is now sitting as the lead partner who now owns the firm, now a partner in the firm, participating, and he's saying to himself that, I remember many, many years ago when I was a hustler and I wasn't a partner, not an owner of the business, some of the money that should come to me, you were sharing with my people down there, okay? Now I'm a partner. Is that what you're still doing now with the people that are not partners and are going to come up the system? It comes back to bite you in one shape, manner, or form. It's a difficult one, and it's really a question of the amount of risk you want to take and how much you feel it can damage your reputation. I always share a story, which is a very true one that happened to us at Phillips. Um, Several years ago, we used to provide some kind of training facility to a particular organization, which I rather not mention. And what we used to do was provide a package trip to South Africa, whereby we were, there's a time when Phillips Consulting, we were shifting a lot of executives to South Africa on executive training programs. And we used to have quite a few of these guys who would join us. And the deal really was that we would offer a very packaged trip. And, for a lot of the clients, it was fantastic because you're saying that for $5,000, everything, airfare, tuition, breakfast, lunch, accommodation, transportation. So the organization knew that, okay, that was their total cost and they didn't have to worry about anything else. Some might give their staff some, but that attitude was that, look, you're covered. Now, in this particular situation, this particular organization, not only did we do this, but they now, the person who arranged the program, actually kept quiet about the fact that it was fully paid for. So they were now being paid their full allowances for travel, daily accommodation for allowance for accommodation, for food, for this. So that was going straight into their pocket, knowing that it had been paid for. Now, the thing that we did wrong, and the lesson that we talk about learning, was that I just kept quiet because my attitude was that I charge you $5,000. I have delivered all the services and things I've committed to, okay? But I sort of pretended I didn't know that the guys were still saying that, look, we have to get allowance for the hotel, et cetera, et cetera. And that was, for me, I think back and that was wrong. But I lived to the notion that, look, I haven't done anything wrong. I didn't give some information. I don't know how you lawyers would have dealt with it, but that was it. We did not take from anybody. But the point I want to raise to you about things catching up with you was that many years afterwards, sitting in front of the personnel guy and arranging another program, and he asked that, does this cover everything? And do we have to pay our people anything? And I said, well, yeah, I said, it covers everything. He said, Mr. Phillips, I really respect you, but I want to say that I know for a fact that all these previous trips that, our guys have been coming and getting paid for these, these allowances, which you had already provided for things you provided. And the way he found out was that there was another person who was to go on a trip, but this time, the second time around, and he was booted out of the team to go. So out of bad belly, he went and said, do you know that the people that are going to be paid, the Phillips Consult is covering all the costs, and you're still going to be paying them allowances? He went and reported everybody else.
Wow.
The same guy. So I'm saying that the person who benefited today will be the same one in 5 years' time, 6 years' time, 10 years' time, that will grass on you. And you're sitting there looking at the guy and saying that, oh, we are straight and honest, and the guy is looking, he's now a partner. And he's saying, when I was not a partner, you guys used to settle me now. Now I'm a partner, you can't settle me because it is now my money. So we've got to learn to stick to the straight and narrow. It's a tough one, but just you've got to decide, am I ready to be known as, upright? Or is it that to what extent do I want to take the risk? The answer is really left to you.
Someone dropped in the comment section and it says the line is really thin. The line between, can you give me X amount for me to get you the job, or would you just give me the job and I guarantee you I'll take care of you when I get the job? It's just like some kind of a syntax. You either say this way or say that way, but you're saying the same thing. But you just, the only difference is that one is pre, one is post. But I think, am I correct?
And I must say that the post one, really, because I'm aware of situations whereby the guy, he gives you the work because he knows that, you guys were the best, you competed and were fair. And then come Christmas or birthdays or something that is just not out of the blues, you give something that is very appreciable. And even when I'm saying appreciable, it's not as if the man, you got a 50 million naira job and then you decide that you're going to pay him 10 million or something. It's just some kind of a gift that actually places some kind of recognition, okay, to that person. I know situations where we had been in that situation, but the gift we did was we offer you a free training program. We would offer you something that you don't have to pay for, that is adding, that is benefiting you, such that if anybody was to challenge me, I say, we said we rewarded him by giving him free training. We rewarded him by giving him access to this. And it isn't a case of I came in and I was giving you cash at the end of the day and things of that nature. It's a very thin line, I know, but and it's never a conversation of don't worry, if you do it, we'll take care of you. We just say that, look, we try to recognize that you've played a major role, and we will try and appreciate the role that you play. But I try as much as possible for you not to contract me to that transaction, and that's the subtle difference.
There's someone taking up from what you said as regards starting with a client with a very low amount and then trying to up the game subsequently. And the person says, how exactly are you supposed to change that? He said, what's the right thing to do? Let the client go or continue to retain them even after them seeing that they're supposed to pay proper charges? What exactly are you supposed to do at that time?
Well,
when you brought down your client.
I think the good thing about when you discount is let the clients know you've really discounted. And then if he says that, look, how come your rate has moved from 10 to 15 or 20 now? I say, well, when we're charging you the rate of 10, it was because, we were taking a loss. Now, if you appreciate the work that we do, then we're saying that this is the rate that we want to charge. But you have got to take advantage of the fact that you got the job and showed your competence and made it very, very difficult for the client to go anywhere else. Let me tell you about something that I call service around the product. The fundamental product that you're offering is this legal service, okay? And you might find out that if it's a straightforward, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. If it's a court issue, then there's one thing. If it's commercial law, where there's a process and documents you've got to put together, that's something else. But something I call wrapping service around the product. That service is what experience did the client go through when you were providing him with this service, with this product. So I'm calling your legal work the product, and I'm calling all the things you did before, during, and after that service, that legal work. What kind of experience did you provide? Did the client have to keep calling you every day? Were you always ahead of the game? Were you always there? I know of a particular law firm because they proudly told us the experience they had where they went for a major job in the United Kingdom, and they had some South African partners that were made lead counsel, so to speak, and they sat there on the table with the opposite party, and they had to come up with some paperwork and agreements and contracts and so on. And they discussed all that and then said that, okay, look, we'll meet tomorrow to wrap up and see the things we're going to do and take it from there. This particular law firm went back to the hotel. They worked overnight. They worked overnight. And when they now sat down the next day, okay, with the lead firm from South Africa saying that, well, okay, now we've got everything sorted out. So what we'll do is that in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, we will come back and see how far we've gone. And this law firm said, no. He said, we've done it. What do you mean you've done it? Yeah, that is not a big deal. We've done it. We've done the work. And they came out because they did not sleep. The client on the other side said, you done what? He said, yeah, the agreements you talked about, the things he said we're going to do, or in 2 or 3 weeks, go back to Nigeria, go to South Africa. He said, we've done it. Obviously, the South African firm was extremely embarrassed. But and they were saying, look, behind the scenes, we're saying, why are you guys embarrassed? I said, we're not embarrassing you. That's how we work. The thing we have to do that could be done overnight, we've done it. We don't want to be flying back and forth and whatever it is, So I'm saying that sometimes the service, the product was there, but the service or the speed, the responsiveness, the fact that they acted way beyond the customer's expectation, so it's things like that I say that, you've got to endear yourself And you really got to sort of say, what is so special about you? And this particular firm, they're just known for speed. They don't sleep. That is their own thing. Because sometimes when they
Speed and accuracy.
beg your pardon?
Speed and accuracy.
Yes, of
Or,
course. Of course. Of course. You know, and when they turned up with books and law books that they piled on the table, the South African firm was laughing at them that, are you going to take exams? They were just smiling that you don't know anything yet. But that was their own forte. That was their own style. And that's what they developed a reputation for, that if you want speed, and they were always doing it. When they have to write a proposal, they go for a meeting, you come back in the evening to tell the client, oh, when should you get the proposal? Oh, you should get the proposal it's Friday, you know, by Wednesday next week, you should get the proposal. On Monday morning, it's on the table of the client because their rule is speed. Guys, you know you're not going to sleep now. Once you go back to the office, don't think you're going home. Finish the work, back and forth, total quality it or quality management it, and once it's done, give it to the client. You've got to be different. There's got to be something about you. That's when I talked about service around the product. It's that the legal response you're going to give is probably the same that anybody else will give. But what was the client's experience with you? What was it that really made you stand out? It might just be the way you produce. It might just be the documents. It might just be the layout. It might just be your packaging. It might just be the way you are always there. It's just, you know, it just might be that. You might say that I'm offering services, and if you have space for my lawyers, we will come and camp in your place and sit there. There's a job we're trying to do. So rather than go back and forth, please can you give us an office? We'll come and stay there like internal audit or doing audit. We will stay. Please just give us a small office to work from so that if there's anything you need, we're right there to respond to you right there. Different things, and that's why you begin to think about innovation that you bring into the work that you do. And
beautiful. That's awesome. This one is a bit more direct, and this has to do with PCL. How exactly do you go about client sourcing? What's the culture that's at PCL that you have put in place for client sourcing? Because I'm looking at it from an angle that Phillips Consulting is a service-based business. Law practice is service-based. And, you know, while some people may think that, you know, lawyers should answer these questions, Phillips Consulting consults for different kinds of industries and different kinds of businesses. So assuming a law firm was supposed to hire Phillips Consulting and say, we need to source clients. How have you been doing it, and how do you think we can do it? We're in similar kinds of conditions. What would you advise?
Well, that is a battle that everybody fights with every day. And though I do less and less in the firm, but I know that if there's one thing that is always the topic, that's okay. What's our pipeline? The term we use is pipeline. Pipeline is the number of proposals that we got in the pipeline that they're waiting for. And there's certain rules about pipelines as well. At any point in time, there's a value of pipeline that you must have. And then that pipeline must always represent a certain percentage of the total billings that you're planning for the year. And then you begin to look at what you call your failure rate. Because sometimes, maybe for every 5 proposals we put, we're batting an average of 2 or 3 that we win. Sometimes they're looking at the value. So the pipeline, the value of the pipeline, and also the number of proposals. Because if you have a pipeline that you're talking about, it's X billion naira or 100 million naira, whatever it is, and it all revolves around 2 clients, and all the other clients are 55 million naira, then all you need to do is to lose those 2 clients and the pipeline is going to burst, in the sense that it just goes up in smoke. So first of all, we let that drive us in terms of the number of the value of our pipeline. And then the next thing is that, you know, in our firm, we have different groups. We have people that are focused a lot on people-related issues, from training, from HR issues, from recruitment, all that kind of stuff. We've got our technology team that are doing stuff on technology, strategy, technology assessment, risk management, and things of that nature. We've got products. So each group has got its own products. And the role of the partners is to go out and try and sell those products. And there are different ways in which you do that. You either might go and create a need for those products, okay? by making people aware of the fact that, hey, do you know that you need to do this? Sometimes we might just do a survey and say that, do you know that generally in the industry, this is what's happening on people-related issues. This is what's happening with technology. But banks are suffering so much on losses, through fraud, etc. Or more just might be strategy. Say that, do you know that a lot of people are coming into your field? Do you know that your market is going to change? A whole bunch of research that we do, which provides the reason why you should engage us. And sometimes it's a cold call. If you want to sell a training program, we do have a training arm, and they send out their brochures. They know all the HR managers and training managers, and they go knocking on their doors. They literally act like salesmen, saying that, hey, what's your training for this year? Here's our training brochure for the year. We haven't heard from you. You're working the telephones. And I tell all my consultants, certainly, that, look, you're all marketing people, because your inability to market means you're going to sit there without any work. And if you want to rise in the organization, don't forget that the nature of the work changes and more of marketing and business development and less of actually doing. So as you're learning to do, also learn to market. That's why sometimes when the senior partners and senior managers or managing consultants, as we call them, when they go out, they take the younger ones along with them to study and understand how they do the subtle marketing and the subtle invitation to come and be engaged by the clients. So, it's a hustle like everybody else,
Okay, so it's not really as easy as I thought. There was this conversation I heard about. I'm not sure if it ever happened, but it was accredited to the late Mr. Adeoyoko of GT Bank. And it was an accountant that I learned was trying to market his accounting firm to him, and said, he had a relationship with Mr. Adeoyoko, and said, Tayo, let's do the audit of GT and blah, 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 blah. And, he answered him and said, I know you're good, but I also know there is PwC, I know there is KPMG. They may be expensive, I can afford them, why should I use you? And I imagine that you must have had that kind of issues with the kind of clients you represent. How are you able to surpass that? So somebody comes and says, I could use this first, big four firms. This one is in 50 countries. This is in 30 countries. This is 60 years old, and I can afford them. So that you can't compete on price. And I know they have the human resources, they have the financial resources, they have everything they can deliver. So what exactly are you going to tell them, FOP, to make them give you the job and not someone that is seemingly more qualified?
When we started off, and we did have that battle, we were not all things to all men. We started off as niche players. The guy who went to see Tayo and said, give us your audit, and knowing that there were big boys were there, he got it wrong. He should have said, give us a little element of the things that you do. Why don't you, in doing all these things with your auditors, let us do the inventory reconciliation. Let us do this reconciliation. Let us do some assessment of your risk processes. Let us, just find your little niche. That is what we did at Phillips when we started off. There's no way we could stand up and say we were going to compete with Anderson Consulting to come and do the strategy of First Bank or those big banks in those days. We were literally, we started us as a 5-man team. Then we moved on to 10. We were a very small firm. But what we did was we found a very niche product, which some people might not know about. It was called total quality management. It was new. The old boys, the old firms were not looking into it. And it was current. It was globally current, TQM. And we latched onto it such that the day ExxonMobil looked around, and they were always bringing people in. And one day we sent a flyer in, and somebody said, you guys, come on, Mr. Phillips, let's talk. We sat down, and I was hot. I confess to you, I was really hot on, because I enjoyed the topic itself of total quality management. It was new. It's just another sophisticated word for transformation, but had some clear steps. And by the time we had this engagement, The man said, hey, he said, what we're looking for in the United States is right here. And ExxonMobil engaged us. Shell got to hear about it, they engaged us. Then GT Bank, because they were starting, and all the other banks, Zenith, we started teaching them, Nikon Insurance, so many organizations. We got the reputation. I'm talking about 92, 93, 94, 95, 1994, 90, you know, that time. I don't know how many of you there were born, with all due respect, but some young people might be here. But the point is, we were the only game in town for that particular aspect. And it was as a result of that that we began to have what I call this halo effect of saying that these guys seem to be good at this. Do you do this? Do you do that? And because it was about transformation, you find out that it started spreading itself into other areas in organizations. So we knew our limitations. You know, if I say to Yoruba, with those who understand, we knew how much we could go. We didn't push beyond our limits, but it was always starting point. So that's my advice to all the other smaller firms. You got to find the little area that you can call your niche and try and study it to the nth degree so that you're not going and attacking full frontal. And even when you go to the person, you say, I'm not asking for the whole thing, just give me this little bit where I can commit myself to. And of course, you in doing it, you kill yourself doing it, making sure that it is, and each time we found out that some elements of work that we did, we always outclassed the larger firms. Because while they're dealing with 15 items, we might have been given just 2 of that 15 taken from them. But of course, we would do it in such a way that they were pointing at them and pointing and say that, look at what Phillips Consulting has done. Look at what you guys are doing, you know? So beautiful. It's a niche game that you got to follow. It's a niche game. Look at
that's spot on. And I must say to everyone that is participating in this, thank you very much for your time so far. We have gone far and we are getting closer to the end. And I recognize every one of us, and I must especially recognize the National General Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association. That's the #2 man of the NBA, Mrs. Joyce Odua. You're very welcome. I see you are here, and I see every other person that is here as well. Sir, there is something that also bothers me, and someone sent me a private message around that. And there are 2 folds to it. I'll throw the 2 questions. One, I know that consulting firms also do the same kind of thing. They just package proposals and they, cast your seeds on many waters, and they throw it to all the banks and throw it to all the companies, and then hope that somebody's going to call them for a training. I think some lawyers do that too. One, what is the efficiency of that? A second question, completely different from that I would love if you can take them together, is this key man risk factor, which also happens. So your name, sir, with due respect, is Mr. Foluso Phillips. This is Phillips Consulting, and I am Aliko Dangote, and I want Phillips Consulting to consult for me. Of course, I expect with the list of modesty that at least FOP should be the one speaking to me as regards what Phillips Consulting wants to do for me. But that's key man risk, because FOP is not going to be on seat forever. So how do you get to carefully exit without the business exiting with you? Because it's Phillips Consulting and this is Foluso Phillips. How do you differentiate this? 2 questions, sir.
Okay, let me start with the second one. You can remind me what the first one is again. the second one is, I started this conversation talking about building an institution. I said that, I wanted to create an organization that would outlive me. And I wanted to create an organization that would outlive anybody that joins it, which means that we will always be a sustainable institution. And so the mindset has always been that whilst, yes, FOP might have had a lot of visibility, which I cannot deny, and was necessary, because you need to have a point of contact. You need to have one person that is always personifying the organization, such that that person is one that can go in and out. And usually you find that it's a founder that is able to do this. But you see, beyond that, when you now begin to roll out your work, one thing that I think we've got to give our firm credit for is that like I mentioned earlier, you never go alone. You always got people with you. always expose your people to the processes that you go through, and you're always exposed to people. And even my consultants have accused me that I've been so, that they panic when they go, because we're sitting at the table with the client. And for every 5 questions that were asked, I might answer only 1 or 2. Because they say, oh, Mr. Phillips, how do you do this? And I'll say, Tola, what do you think? Kunle, what do you think? Oh, Jason is the expert on this issue. So Jason, they always panic. They say, don't go with FOP because the man will just, but all I was trying to do was to show the client that it didn't all reside with me. And each time when they answered, you then sort of, you set them off literally, but after a while they got to know that that's the way I operate. They know that I will come in and I will buffer it up and say, in addition to what Jason said, so and so. In addition to what Tola said, so and so. And you actually let the client see that you have got a team. And nowadays, I must confess, that's what I did at the beginning. Nowadays, the people are set, and I say, we're going to see this client. Please, everybody, brush up on this topic. Be ready to deal with this. And do you know that when we go to give presentations, we rehearse? I say, okay, guys, I'm going to do the introduction. Then after the introduction, Jason, you deal with this. Tola, you deal with this. And Kunle, you deal with this, okay? And then please, when I give my introduction or when I come in to give a wrap up, I want you to interrupt, okay? That's the thing. Then, Kunle, I want you to ask these questions, Tola, these questions. And they're written down. It is choreographed. Don't think we just go in there like that, too. When I say choreographed, it is planned out to the extent that the person sitting next to me, I'm kicking him, that is your turn to talk. Oh, I'm kicking him. I'm very serious because this marketing thing is a serious game, and you're managing perception all the time. I call it going on stage. Guys, we're going on stage because you're going to make a pitch, for God's sake. So you got to put everything that's possible on the table, and you got to create a right impression. You got to create create a right perception of the organization. So the thing is, you walk away from that meeting with people feeling that, well, yeah, we know it's FOP, but you've got some hell of a team there. And you're winning when you find out that afterwards they're calling them and not you. And that for me is always a good thing. And don't forget.
Finish up on that line, sir.
You say what?
I wanted you to finish up on that line. I was going to remind you of the first question.
So when you're sitting also in a room, you're sitting with the managing director and the whole hierarchy. It's never one person. So each person, I tell them, decide who you're going to target. Because after the meeting, you make sure, and I'll meet them in the corridor. I say, Tola, did you call that guy yesterday? Yes, I called him. What? To create that relationship that I mentioned, and just say that, oh, hi, I was at the meeting with Mr. Phillips when we came to see you yesterday. I just thought, is there anything else that you need clarification on? Because we're thinking, and then you ask this question, I just thought I'd send you this. And then I promised I was going to send you this article or this link that talks a bit more about what we were talking about, blah, blah, blah. You begin, it's a serious business, the ability to market. And so when you're doing that, how you find that very, very rapidly the concept of key man risk begin to disappear. In our own case, I think I spend about maybe 30% of my time in the firm now. I have a managing director for Phillips, Robert Taiwo, and Robert has been around for two and a half years now, and he's settling down very well. And people don't see me anymore. And Robert is smart. He's, took my time finding him, and more, hardly do people say that they want to see me. And when we've been together, I have stepped back. And it's not tough because Robert is smart, and you find that he easily makes me an old man, because he's a new generation. And for the clients also, when I go to see clients, I am an old man. I hardly ever do that. It's a phone call or some kind of leverage or some kind of opportunity you want to create. And sometimes I come in and you try and add a bit of wisdom to the table, but ordinarily it is something you must plan. So the key man risk for me is not there because it was not from the beginning.
I say you're very neat. You're very neat. That's what we are working on. I'm trying to rush so that I don't take more time than I planned, but so many questions are coming in, and I still want us to round up. Maybe if you permit another extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then we'll just round up.
Let's let's not, I won't pressurize you. I've got a,
You're always this amazing. I don't know how you get to become this simple. Someone says he remembers you as Mr. TQM in Now Merchant Bank. I think that's just on a lighter note.
okay, that's and the person is right, because that was it. In Now Merchant Bank, we spent you know, if you got time, I'll tell you another story about Now Merchant Bank. Okay, since the person is Now Merchant Bank, whoever that person is, that person doesn't know, but whoever that person is, I'll tell them what happened. You see, Phillips Consulting, we used to arrange breakfast seminars, which is very, very rare. These breakfast seminars were seminars in which we use the muson. We'll have breakfast and would invite all our clients and potential clients and anybody we could hustle, anybody, send out an invitation to all of them to please come for our breakfast meeting. And at the breakfast, we was going to have like I usually the keynote speaker, talk about this. We'll give out a lot of brochures. We'll have all our consultants dressed nice and neat. We'll collect cards and have a nice, high quality breakfast set. And I remember the MD of Now at that time, a guy called Shamsuddin Usman. Okay, he was the managing director. He later went on to the central bank, was even a minister. And he sat on the front table, and I started to give my introductory talk to welcome everybody, you know. And after about 5 minutes, he got up and he walked out. And I thought, oh my goodness, you know, this is probably the key client. And I haven't even started. And the man got up and walked out. Obviously, it even destabilized me. Even the rest of my speech, I struggled to go through it. And I felt very downcast, even though, you know, the whole event went very well. But lo and behold, later on in that day, he gave me a call. And he said, this is Shamsuddin Usman. I said, yes. I said, you came in and you left. He said, oh, no, it wasn't because of anything. He said, by the time I spent 5-10 minutes there, I'd seen all I wanted to see. And I made up my mind, you know. And do you know what? And I tell this story a lot because it's a true story. He said, I walked in there and I saw the way you guys were organized because I needed to engage you for this quality management program for Now Merchant Bank. We wanted to go on a quality program. We needed it. All the GT banks and all these things were sort of knocking them out of the way, and they needed to step up. And not only did I find that the setting was high quality, the process was high quality. He said, but when I sat on the table, the napkin was not paper serviette. It was brocade napkin that had been starched and ironed. And he said, he looked at the napkin. You know, sometimes these napkins that you so ironed and starched them, they have a life of their own. Very, very stiff. He opened it up and he smiled and said, yo, if this organization can be this particular, then clearly these guys that can help us with our quality program. So he said, please, can you see me and let's talk about this? And that's how we got engaged. Because of a paper napkin, because of a cloth napkin. He said that one convinced him. So, you know, when we talk about managing perception, it's true. Yes.
That's amazing. I talked about, the first question was on distributing proposals, you know, across
all these mass proposal thing. You know, yes, you would do it, but, you know, if you send out, let's be clear, if you send out 100 brochures, look at 20 or 30 that you're really going to hustle them for. The rest is just for information, because sometimes you need to let clients know that you're there. And I did a lot of, you see, there's this concept of what I call tangification, okay? To tangify, to make tangible, okay? We are all in the business of intangibles. We offer a service, and it's not a product, it's not a car, it's not a computer, it's not a physical item, the service you provide. So you got to try and create a way in which you can personify that product. So, for example, you walk into your environment and your environment is showing quality, is showing a high standards. You produce a document, the document is of high quality and high standards. You know, I talked to you about, I mentioned earlier about, you know, making sure that the tangibles were of high quality. And in those days, I produced a brochure for everything. You know, for anything you find a brochure. But I found out that after a while, you go into any bank waiting room, reception area, you find some Phillips brochure. It might even be on the floor. But we so flooded the market with those things that after a while, the name Phillips was beginning to become some kind of a household. You got to see it all around. So when you send out these things, obviously you target the people that you're pursuing as well. for every 10 that you send out, make sure you are going to follow up with 3, okay? But the others are just people you catch up with later on. So that when you do go to them, you're not going to be strange to them. And don't forget, for us, we were pretty new as we gradually built our reputation in the marketplace. So this flooding out is not something that I would encourage, but at the same time, always know that there's a group that you're going to pursue vigorously apart from the others.
So someone asked the question. That's fantastic, sir. Someone asked the question and said, "How do you handle excess liquidity in the profession?" So I would interpret it in your own terms. So many, pardon me, sir, mushroom consulting firms. Everybody's a consultant now. Everybody's a coach. Everybody's a speaker. Everybody can help everybody, but we all know that that's not true. So I think that happens also with law firms. Everybody that is qualified to be a lawyer can literally open a law firm. So there are a lot of scores and scores of law firms here and there competing for the same kinds of briefs. So the person says, how do you handle that kind of excess? There's so much supply and it seems to be more than demand.
Or there may be more, more lawyers more lawyers than there are clients. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's what we face. I mean, you're talking about competition, and all our discussions so far has been how you can outclass the competition. There will always be winners and losers, and you got to continue to find what strategy you can adopt, okay, to win. If all of you listening to me today, okay, all 90 something, whatever it is, all of you were to go to the market and hustle 10 clients, you've all listened to me. You've all sort of gathered and say, okay, this is some interesting perspective that Mr. Phillips has, and we're going to go and adopt it. But there's only 5 clients. So there's always be excess of 80 something. So there will be winners and there will be losers. It's who is going to outclass the other. What are you going to bring to the table that's going to make those 5 clients choose one of you? There will always be people that you can't do it. And so it's a case of, yes, we can have strategy, but how do you execute it? How do you bring a lot of things to play? Getting your clients to trust you, getting the client to be comfortable with you, letting the client understand that you have the competence and the capability to deliver, and all those rules come to play. All those rules come to play. A lot of professional firms, and I've talked to engineers as well. I've talked to architects in the past, lawyers, obviously. You don't realize that whilst you are learning about your core skill, which is being a lawyer, being an engineer, being an architect, being an accountant or whatever, there's a whole host of other things that you really need to continue to develop, which has to do with the way you're managing your firm, okay? And all the principles of management come to play. The way you are training your people. And I always question, how many of you send your staff who do have that, how many of you send them on what I call these personal development courses about effective presentation, effective writing skills? Even though you're not lawyers, there is a proper way to write, assertiveness, all those personal development. So you find that if, most of the consultants, when they join our firm, what they spend the first year or 2 doing is learning about what we call personal development skills. Because these are skills that show you up later on. And they sometimes stop people from rising higher than they should. And once you've sorted out your personal development skills, the next level is to begin to learn about supervisory skills. Some lawyers are very lousy at managing people. And that's why you find the firm crumbles. There are all kinds of problems that arise and so on. So I've got to develop my personal capability and skills. I've got to learn how to manage other people. And then I've got to learn how to manage the firm. That's when you start looking at your strategy, your cash flow, what it is you should do, where you should operate, and all those strategic things about getting business and putting structure into the firm. So it's managing self, managing others, managing the organization. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Self, people, organization. But the point is, you got to make your people learn. You got to send them to be trained. And even you too, some of you have, you've got to learn and continue to train yourself. Because at a point in time, You cease to manage a law firm. You're managing an enterprise. And do you understand all the rules of managing enterprise, which has to do with finance and people, okay, and your marketing? All those things, they come to play. And if you haven't developed yourself along the way, you struggle at the top. You struggle.
So that's fantastic. A question came up now, and it's more for let me call them SMEs, younger people who are just starting their law firms, and they are thinking all those things that FOP is saying are for big law firms. They are for people that have so much money, so much resources, and they are probably starting up something. They have all the money. What do I do when I cannot afford? You went, for example, to go and source for a qualified person as managing director. It comes at a cost. Your consultants, you want them to spend 2 years, learning personal development skills, and you're going to have to sustain them during that period. So I'm going to intertwine two questions as one. How does a small law firm that is limited in resources and that is even struggling to survive, not to talk of maintaining its overhead and then those people, how does it survive that period and build all this foundation of excellence and taste and all of that? And then number two, how do you get to build, you talked about employee trust in the beginning somehow when we were talking. How do you get to earn all those confidence and let them know that, hey, this is for a long term, because people just believe that, oh no, it may just be a fluke. Eventually, it has to be my own thing. And I guess that's why we have so many consulting firms as well around. Everybody just wants to do their own thing. They think that the big ticket comes with PCL and they're just being paid peanuts. They want to make all the money themselves. How do you manage all of these employee aspects of managing clients and building a profitable business?
I tell people when they look at Phillips that they really need to be very careful, because when I started Phillips Consulting, I was not what you call a spring chicken. What I mean by that is that I had gotten a lot of experience, and let's be very honest about it. I qualified from university when I was barely the age of 20, 21. By the time I was 22, 23, I had qualified as an accountant. Beyond that, I had worked in several companies in the United Kingdom. I come and did some work with Pfizer at a very, very senior level. I got recruited by Coopers & Lybrand to go back to the United Kingdom to work as a consultant with Coopers. I cut my consulting teeth for about 6, 7 years in Coopers, and then came back to Nigeria to work as SEO, as General Manager of Finance. And all this I did before the age of about 37 or so. And it was when I left SCOA to form Phillips at the age of about 38, 39. So I was starting as a pretty experienced individual. And when I set up the firm, I had enough knowledge to show leadership with the people that I recruited. And all the people I recruited were pretty young people in their late 20s, most of them, because I was quite much older than they were. And they just trusted that I could do it. And like I said, I had moved, I'd done some, I'd done quite a bit. So it was not a case of some person that says, I want to be a consultant. I think I would say with all modesty that I had earned my stripes to go to set up a consulting firm. And therefore, on day one, when we were going chest to chest with the big boys, even in our own little niche area, one understood all the things that had to be done. And I remember I came with a Coopers & Lybrand manual, and I had written manuals myself. I had done my bit. So the point I'm raising is that, look, people, it's like ordinarily, when I joined Coopers & Lybrand as a consultant, I came in at just one step above the lowest level of being a consultant. But in the meantime, I'd worked at almost director level in Nigeria. I had packed in quite a few years of experience, maybe up to about 10 years or so. And yet I could only fit in just one step above the lowest level. Because for them, they were not taking all these come in and train to be a consultant. Because you arrive and 3 days after, they're going out and billing you out at £500 an hour. You had better know what you're doing. So nowadays, when you have people coming, I want to join your firm, I want to be a consultant. I say, well, to be a consultant, we'll come in and we'll train you to go through the motions hoping that you would be able to work as a consultant. Because for me, the definition of a consultant is somebody that's gotten so much expertise in an area that he becomes a consultant. You know, you think of the medical profession, consultant gynecologist, consultant this, consultant that. There are people that have earned the title consultant. So I take that to your law area where you have these young lawyers who have started. My initial advice would be, go and try and join a law firm. Go and earn your stripes. Go and see how you too can. And there comes a point in time when you too will know that, you know what, it's time for me to bust out. I want to go and try my hand. Okay? And the beauty of it is that, yes, a lot of law firms in Lagos, and I know a lot of people that have left some law firms and they've gone out into the interiors to become superstars. They go to the north, the south, the east, go to Port Harcourt, go to Akure, you know, because they're saying, I'm going to go and be, call it a local champion for all his worth, but it's just an area in which I can begin to start to do my own thing. So I think the point I'm raising is that, look, it's not a hop, step, and jump thing. At least for me, it's you come in and you earn your stripes. So even in the legal profession, come in, earn your stripes. Be sure that you deserve to be called a legal consultant, because that's the only way that I'll come and give you work. Because I see your firm and I see you leading, and I see you as a consultant in the legal work that you're offering.
Okay, I'll ask this as a final question because I've made you drink water. So sorry. This will be the final question, and this is, we are in COVID-19. I don't say post-COVID-19, and it has changed a lot of things, how businesses run and how things operate, clients' apathy, clients' expectations. Some clients just want to walk away, their resources are low. And what do you advise those in the service industry to do at this time? How do you migrate into the new normal, into the realities that have come to us? This is not the first time we're having a recession. You know, things have gone poorly like this several times. And I know that, for example, people talk about the fact that once there is a low budget, the first thing that is cut out is training budget and all of those things. That's the first thing you cut down. Services generally are being revisited. Nobody revisits how much you pay on your power bills, whether there's a recession or not. You have to pay, you have to eat, you have to do certain things. But things that are more abstract are things that you tend to want to renegotiate and reduce. So what's your general advice? And then after then, I'll be asking for your final words so that I can wrap up.
Okay, I think one thing that everybody's agreed that COVID has done is COVID has accelerated what should have taken us 2 years. It just pulled it forward by 2 years. The process and where we find ourselves today, based on our digital world, is where we should have been, or we could have been, in about 2 years from now. But COVID had just sort of brought a sharp reality to everybody's lives and fast forwarded literally everything. And so that we know, and it's hit everybody. The global recession that is not an economic one. It's a social recession that has economic impact. What do I mean? All of a sudden, the very fundamental thing that makes the world to go round, which is for me and you to be able to touch, talk, communicate, be in each other's presence, was scrapped. And suddenly the whole world came to an end because I could no longer talk to you face to face. I could no longer be in your presence because my presence was a threat to your presence. My presence was a threat to your existence because we really didn't know where we were and everybody had to stay at home. And as a result of that, the demand for everything just literally disappeared, so to speak. And as you know, the story of the airlines and all the other things. So as a result of that, the first initial shock was that everybody ran inside, okay, literally physically. And for a lot of businesses, it was like, we don't know what's going to happen. So please put a stop on expenditure. Not so much cutting costs for now. It's like, don't even pay our bills because we're all holding on to cash. So people that had high receivables, they were struggling. Those that managed to have some money in. So you're going to your client and you're saying, my friend, how far now? Whether the client has money or not, the attitude is that, look, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The way we're seeing these things, so I'm going to hold on to the cash that I have. So a lot of people, a lot of companies were very, very challenged by that. But then gradually things started to settle. And we began to fall into different categories. Is my business sort of stopped and halted for now? So if I'm in the airline business, it halted. If I'm in the entertainment business, physical entertainment, it halted. Event planners, all those things, life just came to a halt. Hotels, everything just came to a halt. That is, the service itself came to a halt. So that's me being impacted directly. Then as a result of that, you, Mr. Lawman, and I, Mr. Consultant, that want to do work for the airlines, for the event planner, for the hotel, they're saying, we're sorry, we don't have any business anymore for you to do work with. So there's this knock-on effect in the sense that your customers now are saying, we have nothing to offer you, which is different from saying, because they now form that direct business that we were going to do. They've lost their business, and because they were our business, we were losing them as well. And as a result of that, everybody had to sort of readjust and see what it is we're going to do. So reduced activity. The reaction to a lot of us was that, look, yes, we did have to manage cash. We did have to manage the way money was being spent. But what was new, especially to our own world, was the discovery of the fact that we can actually work from home. So much so that I know for a fact that the only reason our guys go to the office is just out of the fact that they're bored at home, or they just feel that there's a need for them to get together once in a while. And it's always a particular group, a particular team. So the whole concept of working from home is a totally new dimension that I said has been brought forward, okay? And I don't know how some people are coping. I know some law firms that just say they're working from home very, very comfortably. Those that are not, I find are the analog lawyers. And I really mean it, the analog lawyers. And I know one or two that, are you in the office? I said, they still deal with their files and so on. My wife's a lawyer and she works from home, and all their files and their documents and so on, they're all digitized, and the nature of the work, they really don't have to go home. So business has changed, okay? And we have to wait for clients, for the world to start opening up again for us to be able to join in that process. You can't force the issue, but you can readjust your business, whereby you say, the way we work, the number of people who are working, the kind of things we're doing. I know of some people whose business activity has increased. I know of some people that have gotten a lot busier than before. I know some people that, whereby I know our consultants complain they are working a lot harder than they used to, because they're now literally 24/7. They're working 24/7 because people just call them at any time, and they can't hide and they can't escape. So it really depends on where you are, and you just got to watch things. Things are opening up slowly. They said that what COVID did was it exposed people that were totally unprepared. Okay, it showed. They said COVID is like a tide that when the tide pulled out, we realized that a lot of people were actually swimming naked, in the sense that there was nothing to cover them anymore. So for that, I really don't know, other than the fact that, look, in looking for work, I tell people, I believe a lot in the concept of value chains. And value chains means looking at little snippets. I talk about this specialization, looking for that little bit that you can grab hold onto and make it a big deal, and really breaking things down into its elements. But even don't forget, the legal work itself is going to change going forward, because it's all being dealt with by artificial intelligence. You guys got to really watch out.
You just dropped that one in like a bombshell. I wanted to just give your closing remarks, but someone then asked the question again and said, please, have you captured this depth of knowledge in a book? We need a book from you, sir. If you have authored books, and we have titles. And then I'll add something to that. I'll also say what book or books, what one or two books, because I know you have a massive library at home, in the office, I know. So what book or books have been your biggest inspiration? Do you have a book you want to commend that you have documented the life and times of FOP in FOP's Inc.? And then what so that we can round up. I don't want to take the rest of your time, so you won't want for me.
I'm under a lot of pressure to write a book, and I think I'm just being lazy about it. Somebody will say, "Look, when I'm ready to start, I should let them know, and they help me to do it." I always feel that what do I want to say that hasn't been said, to be quite honest. And I see some books and I read through and I flip through the pages. I'm just wondering what's new, but maybe I'm being a bit. I'm assuming so much, but maybe I'll get around to it. But I just, I would rather just carry on having conversations like this. Because what do you write? Where do you start? I really don't know about that. In terms of what kind of book do you read? There's a very, very old book that I found so useful. Very old, called In Search of Excellence. I'm sure some of you might have heard about it. You can go and Google it. It's a very, very old book. But I just found out the principles are always the same. I've read a lot of books. When I say I've stopped reading, there's a book that I'm actually reading now. I don't think I have it nearby. Written by Tom Peters. I bought it in 2005, and the title of the book is Reimagine. And clearly, Tom Peters, who wrote that book, was 15 years ahead of his time, because all the things he was talking about 15 years ago, in fact, it was in 2004, all the things he was talking about are happening now. But his data is out of date. He was saying at that time that, he reckons that in so many years' time, there'll be about 200,000 people on the internet. Now, we have billions. But the point is, his point was that, look, the world is going to change. And he was predicting and talking about that change way back in 2005. And I love books on innovation. I love books on change. I love books on where you're shifting paradigms and you're looking much into the future. A lot of the failures that we've had, even as a firm, was us being so much ahead of our time that people couldn't understand. And some of the products and ideas just failed because it was like, what on earth are we talking about? And then maybe 3 or 4 years later, it turns up. And we're saying, look, we were talking about this 4 years ago, but you people couldn't hook up with it. Maybe we should be operating in a different country sometimes.
Final words, FOP, final words.
Oh, I mean, for me, I'll say it again. In all you do, trust me, try and understand people. Just try and understand people. Conventional wisdom says that your customer is somebody that you serve on the outside. Your customer is somebody you provide a service to by your organization. But modern thinking, or my thinking, says your customers start inside your firm. The people who serve each other within your organization are customers to each other. When you look at the flow of work, the flow of processes, even if you're working as a team, somebody is doing step 1, somebody step 2, somebody do some research. You've got to work as customers in-house. And it is the quality of service you provide to yourself in-house that determines the quality of the work that you do on the outside to your client. So the client work does not start at the time you deliver to the client. It starts when you want to start delivering to the client. So you've got to go back into the value chain of activities in your organization and begin to serve each other with the same relish, the same determination, the same necessity that you show to each client. You've got to show to yourselves within the organization. You've got to take care of your people in-house, make them really, really superhuman beings. It doesn't matter whether if they leave you, If I was to be dead on account of the number of people that have left us, if I was to react to it, I'll be dead today. But you get to a point whereby you just realize that, look, that is what you're offering to society, and it is determining your maturity. Okay, people used to poach from us. We now got to the point where we poach ourselves. But you just realize that you cannot, because you say this person is going to leave, therefore you don't train, because the person might stay and you have an untrained and incapable person. And that's the first thing. And it's about the need to really focus and understand your customers, your clients, and the whole concept of teamwork and the value chain of activities. You just don't have external clients, you have internal clients, and it's just one long continuum. I think the second thing I'll talk about is a concept of what I call continuous improvement. You don't be amazed that even in the law practice, there are processes and procedures that you need to evaluate each time on how you deliver your work. If the way you're doing it in January is the same way you're doing it in December, there's something wrong. It is still a process. Either it is the way you do your research, the way you do your presentation, the way you do your reviews, whatever it is, even when you're going to court or whatever, you're looking at processes and systems all the time. And don't forget the point I raised about the fact that traditionally I go in and I deliver a legal product, for want of a better description. But what is important is the service around that legal product. How did I do it?
Experience.
The customers experienced before you did the work, when you were doing the work, and after you did the work. That's what I call service, the before, during, and after. And you got to pay attention to that, because it's really what begins to hopefully differentiate you. And I think the last thing will be about your people. I think traditionally, everybody looks at the competence of your lawyers. This person is a great lawyer. He can quote all the clauses and all the laws and everything, come out from back to front, both here from back to front, fine, great lawyer. But what is this person's character? What is this person's personality? Who is this lawyer of yours? Because sometimes the behavior can ruin everything. The person's profile, his style can actually ruin everything. And sometimes you find out that you got to pick the right horse to run the particular race. If you're doing a lot of litigation, I want somebody that's going to go in there and fight like crazy, then choose somebody that's got that personality. At the same time, still, you want a lawyer who's going to do litigation, but you want him to be very, very precise, concise. This is not bullying. This is facts and figures and logic and sense that all you lawyers are good at. Then choose the person with the right temperament. Somebody's going to court. Who is the judge? That judge loves flamboyant lawyers. So yeah, Kunle, you go. Who is the judge? The judge has no nonsense. He wants to listen, or she wants to listen to logic. Choose the right person. So it's about your people as well. Okay, it's not just the competence that you have as a lawyer. It's your character as a lawyer as well, because it is your character that defines your competence all the time. So those are the things I want to share with you, and I think I'm done.
So much FOP. It's been amazing. I knew it was my class. It was for me. My notes is full. It's extremely full. There's so much wisdom in it. I'm going to have to listen to this again. I see a lot of horses in those artwork behind you, the paintings behind you. What is it about horses FOP on the final note? There's a horse rider on the first one. There's a horse on the rider on the second one. I think there's some abstract horse on the third one to the right.
The one on this side is a Benin king that he was sort of riding a horse, and that is a northern person riding a horse. It just happens to be that that's what those horses are about.
All right, thank you very, very much. I'm getting to love art more now that I know that you're also a collector of art. I'm actually deepening my knowledge of painting and drawing as well as hoping to become an avid collector. Thank you very much, FOP. I'm so inspired. I'm so excited. I've heard a lot of things. There's so much of thank you in the comment section. My note here is full as well. Many assignments here is been given. I see somebody saying this is just perfect, it's all rounder. Somebody saying this is a wonderful and insightful section. Somebody saying kudos to Mr. Phillips. Someone says Mr. Phillips should give us a book. He needs to give us a book. I don't know whether it's a book or something. Somebody says it's been a very insightful session. There's so much that is here, and I'm so honored to have been privileged to have your attention. Thank you so much, FOP. You have done this for me year in, year out. You have remained consistent. Thank you so very much. May God bless you. May God reward you. And may your legacy may it be strong, and may it last far beyond you. Thank you so much very again.
Thank you. And I think you're doing a great job. And I think it's very unfair of me for you to be doing so much for your colleagues and the organization that you have. It is the role that I play now is to support people like you so that we can share the little that we know, all that we know, through platforms like this, which is a way of giving. And since I know you, I decided that, okay, fine, it's something that I can do. So I want to ask you also to keep it up. It's a good thing that you do. So well done. And to everybody else, I thank you for listening, and I wish you all the very best. And don't forget, it's all about people. Trying to understand people. That's the secret. It's all about people. It's all about people.
So thank you very much, all participants that are here. You can watch this video anytime later this night on YouTube, on my channel, on Facebook, on the Penthouse Law Facebook channel, on YouTube, on my channel, Charles Ajiboye. I advise you to watch it again. That's when you will know you have missed a lot, even though you are listening all through. FOP, thank you so much. I love you. I really appreciate you. I'll let you go now.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. Bye, everybody.